Okay, we're back.
Okay, hopefully we're connected properly so that I could hear. It didn't sound like it was coming over the browser. Tell Wink in the chat or in some fashion on social media. But hey, here along the banks of the Rogue River, the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon, it is currently 51 degrees. And forecast small chance of rain, though the satellite radar is showing a bit of moisture in the area.
Yep.
So we'll see. Boy, speaking of moisture in the area, I don't know, when they say that Florida didn't get hit because they only have like 6 foot of storm surge. Well, Georgia's getting 11 foot. You know, I think someone's getting hit there. 11 feet.
Yeah, that's a little bit of water.
On top. Yeah, just add that. It's crazy. All right. Crazy stuff. Well, we'll try to muddle through on this degrading Skype scene. Now, I have been hearing that there's some general internet issues out there in the world. Some people's internet are complete. Things happened to us this morning, behind the scenes. And so we'll see. I don't know. It's a confluence of things that may not have anything to do with any of it. It's just, when you run by machines, you're at the mercy of machines.
Yeah.
Well, we're at the end of the week. It's Friday, Wink.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are you
flying by.
You have anything planned for the day? I mean, for the weekend.
Well,
It's a long weekend.
It's a long
weekend.
My sister flies in from Cali on Saturday, tomorrow. And but I'll probably do some canvassing out there as well. So I don't know, just the usual stuff on Saturday. Got to work Sunday, so I don't know. It's just gonna be one of those weekends where we split up or whatever. But yeah, it should be pretty good.
You doing anything for indigenous peoples? Let's do their land. About it today.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that. There's something going on. I did see.
That's called Columbus Day.
Oh, is that coming up on Monday? Is that what it is? Is that the Monday holiday they're talking about? Okay.
Federal holiday for some people.
You're breaking up, so I can only get about every other word. So.
That's how it's happened.
But Monday I'm not doing anything for. I'm pretty sure I'm working Monday. So yeah, that's the way that works. Did we lose Justice? We probably did. I think we lost.
No.
Okay.
I'm
okay. All right. Yeah, but no, I'm not doing anything special for Columbus Day. I never do that. I'm usually working the holidays. So yeah, that's.
I almost feel like I should again and then rate this call.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I can do that.
How do you rate this call? It was pretty bad. That's going on here.
Exactly.
So I don't know. You're breaking up on my end too. Now when I monitored before we reconnected the call, it didn't seem like it was you going out in the world, but I don't know. It seems odd to me.
Yeah, I think it's probably going on. I guess.
Yeah, I guess too. Well, gosh. Who knows?
Yeah, we've had some glitches for the last week.
Yeah, there was yeah, but those are independent of what's been going on today.
Lately,
There's people that he was like Josie. He was going to have Josie on, but her internet was out. She was at a coffee shop trying to get enough to be able to do a live call in and whatnot.
Right.
So there's that. There's other things that have been going on that I've seen in social media. There's things that are happening with us.
Yeah, I think this is a Skype issue right here.
This is a Skype issue, but it sounds like I don't know. It has an accent of Russian in it. Could be an accent of Russian.
Could be. Yeah, that could happen.
Reconnect the call and take our luck again, but we've already done that. Short of dumping Skype and then reinstalling it, which this time, quit Skype and then reinstall. That takes time.
Yeah. yeah.
We'll muddle through here. These are the issues. These are the issues that we'll be attending to today, and they are teachers, students, and parents over 200 cities protest the lack of funding for public education in an approach described as surgical. Eamon Bundy's cross-examination took a mere 15 minutes. And Philippines President Duterte dares the United States and the European Union to withdraw aid after telling President Obama to go to hell.
Yeah, take that.
Can you believe that guy?
I don't know.
I got to tell you, he's got to read his history. I mean,
yeah, he does.
You start doing that stuff, especially after we've been helping you out.
Right.
Making the conditions such that you can become, that you're in power.
Right.
And then you're not long for the world. History shows.
Exactly.
We have a bad history of that. My God, I don't know. Okay. Of course, it is the Friday News Cycling Center. News that's been repurposed with a purpose as long as Skype allows us. An Oregon church rules overweight people should not be worship leaders. Worship leaders? They also use the term worship team. What is that? Worship team.
Huh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sounds a little bit too much like the prosperity gospel to me. Worship team. And this is... I hate these kinds of stories, but an Iranian woman receives a 6-year jail term. Forget this week. Writing a fictional, unpublished short story about stoning.
Yeah.
I bring that up but for the grace of God, there go I. That kind of thing. But, stoning. She's got 6 years in jail for writing a story about stoning. Because it's bad to stone women to death.
Yeah.
And that warrants 6 years jail. Well, I don't know. I have an affinity for writers, and whatnot. Well, we have all that, plus the Connect, Unite, Act, Daily Coast, community calendar, and more on the after show with that ever so fine fellow over there on the East Coast. His name is Wink, and this guy all the way back over here on the West Coast. And my name is Justice. And we do this 5 days a week for an hourish, intermittent Skype degradations and all. Because he loves you.
Yeah, well, no doubt, yeah.
That's right. Who loves you, baby? Okay. Let's get into stories. We're already burning up the day, Wink.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Oh, yes. All right. This first one comes out of Think Progress by Casey Quinlan. Of course, the editor there at Think Progress. And as part of a national effort coordinated by Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools, teachers, parents, and students protested funding and other issues. Other issues? What other issues could there be? Yeah. Affecting the quality of education in public schools this week. I would say other issues of you mean draining the money from public schools and giving it to corporate pirates?
Exactly.
Then they can bury it offshore and say this X marks the spot. Well, cities participating in Thursday morning's walk-ins, I love that, include Oakland, Los Angeles, Orlando. Maybe a bit by the, they had weather then, right? Well, it was in the morning. Okay, Phoenix, Little Rock, Dallas, Atlanta, Baton Rouge, Chicago, Boston, Detroit, New York, Toledo, Racine, to name a few. You didn't know Racine was a destination, did you?
No, I didn't. No.
Racine, Indiana. Oh yeah. People say, well, why do you have that wonderful spot on the lake? I mean, what drew you to the scenic beauty right there by the lake? And the response is always, because it's only 120 miles from Racine.
Ah, there you go.
I don't know. You have to be old enough to know that way. So that's good. And in February, thousands of people in over 30 cities participated in similar walk-ins coordinated by Eros. And that's the same group that did this one. And isn't it funny how we really didn't hear about it? Because I remember the one in February. I mean, there were hundreds of thousands of people in the street, and, lack of funding for public schools. But, no one was being shot during it. There was no military weaponry involved.
Right.
In response. Once they bring out the tanks against the teachers, maybe. Okay, the coalition organizing the protest is calling for better funding for public schools. What a terrible thing to ask for, Especially in communities. If it was more funding for the private evangelical school up on the hill that, for recess plays with snakes. And they're of a particular hue that genetically was predisposed upon them because of their, millennia in the north. It's okay.
Exactly.
Ending the expansion of charter schools. Oops. Now they're getting into it. You mean
yeah.
Power. Ending harsh student discipline approaches. What? You're telling our resource officers they can't kick butt when they need to kick butt? What do you think they're there for? Sorry. And promoting community schools, which provide services to students on or near the school campus. Those services can include mental health assistance, food pantries, or access to computers after school, depending on what the particular community needs. And I can hear, I hear Trump in his groveling, emperor style, hateful and full of mental health issues. This is why our country is a third world country. We're weak. Having his own mental health issues, which is always a dangerous proposition when someone gets into a, position where happy, benevolent dictator, it would be different.
Right.
Right? And I gotta tell you, the enlightened, benevolent despot is far and few between, okay? Way more of the angry kind than the benevolent, happy, let's, be like the dude, okay? Come on. Don't let the cremains blow in my face. But if it happens, well, oh well. Okay, well, that's just 200 plus cities plus in other areas too. And we're talking about not just teachers, not just students, but parents as well. Because the public schools that their kids are going to. They're segregating the schools again, Wink. This whole charter thing.
Oh, yeah. Basically what it amounts to, yeah.
And, it then causes the public schools, well, what are you going to do? Starve the beast, right? Starve this terrible thing called government.
Yep.
So you can, and this is their rhetoric. Nationalist rhetoric. Drown it in the bathtub. Choke it while it's drowning in the bathtub. It's just sick. Speaking of sick, I don't know, these secessionists, these the militia types that the Bundys represent. I don't know. They're a little too cute by half, as I like to present them. It always amuses me when Amon, however you pronounce his name, he's described as a rancher. He's no rancher. I told you he's like a mechanic. It's even worse. He's essentially, I think his actual income from a limo service, which means he's got thinking town cars and hires a couple of guys to drive him around, I guess. Because he can't. He's off wearing a boy hat, trying to take on the U.S. government.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is by out of Freak Out Nation. Including the band, Amon Bundy was cross-examined by Assistant U.S. Attorney Ethan Knight on Thursday for a mere 15 minutes. Rather than trying to defense had tried to establish with Bundy on the stand, Knight asked all the case and then walked away. Bundy's team took 3 days. Prosecution takes 15 minutes to basically dismantle all of the Bundy defense. Conrad Wilson, who reported on the trial for Oregon Public Broadcasting's This Land is Our Land, approach critical. Night began, and this is Conrad Wilson writing, by the way. Night began by asking if Bundy was the leader of the campaign. When Bundy no, Knight pointed to earlier testimony in which Bundy referred to himself as sort of the leader. Bundy then clarified by saying he's a principal and then lets them govern themselves. Didn't Manson do that? Yes, he did. That kind of disingenuous answer is exactly what loses a jury's trust. Bundy also admitted changing the refuge signs, but denied that occupiers had built a road or used the government computers, assertions that are flatly contradicted by other evidence. Is this a behavior trait that's endemic to a particular part of the right-wing mind? I don't only say that as that, it's endemic to all political spectrums, but it seems to be utilized as like a good thing in the right-wing mind.
Right.
And that's just to it up, even though it is a lie. And it can be proved as a lie. I don't know. They live in an alternate universe, obviously, because they're trying to present evidence that is in an alternate universe, and the judge said, no, you can't. And it took them 3 days to try to enter this stuff and 15 minutes for the prosecution to once again dismantle it.
Yeah.
Such prevarications are unlikely to instill reasonable doubt. Defense attorneys almost never advise their clients to take the witness stand precisely to avoid statements like that. Yep. Knight reportedly asked Bundy about a federal small business administration loan he had sought and accepted for his valet fleet company. I'm not sure that's not allowed by the Constitution, Bundy reportedly answered. Whereas Bundy admitted under questioning that he had planned to take adverse possession of federal property in order to transfer ownership, he clearly considered the federal government legitimate enough to accept a $530,000 loan for his small business. During his closing arguments, Knight will certainly point out the contradiction to the jury, and he might note that the Small Business Administration is not specifically mentioned in the Constitution either. Bundy had taken the stand out of frustration that U.S. District Court Judge Anna Brown would not allow defense attorneys to confuse the jury with this crackpot theory that the U.S. Constitution does not allow the federal government on land. During 3 days of testimony, Brown repeatedly upheld prosecutors' objections to attorney Marcus Mumford when he tried to introduce his client's constitutional quackery as a defense. Along with 5 other people, including his brother Ryan, Aben Bundy is being tried for conspiracy to impede federal officials from performing their duties at Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. The defense team's questioning of witnesses has aimed at minimizing the armed takeover by presenting the affair as a peaceful gathering of patriots. The third day of a direct examination focused on Bundy's experience being arrested by the FBI in a dramatic scene on a rural highway. I had red dots all over me. They were constantly threatening to open fire, he said. Lavoy Finicum, Lavoy Finicum, patron saint of secessionists. A Bundy friend who attempted to elude that roadblock and then got shot by police when he appeared to reach for a gun also gave emotional testimony, but much of it was wiped out by objections from Assistant U.S. Attorney Craig Gabriel. At day's end, Brown seemed worried that the defendant's lawyers were not serving their clients well by dragging out the process. According to Wilson, Brown said they should bring a more streamlined case to the jury when they return Tuesday after the long holiday weekend, or else you're going to lose the meeting jury. In contrast, prosecutors seem to have been highly focused and respectful of the jury's time. I don't know if you've ever sat on a jury, but I never have. But I'll tell you this, I don't think you want to be on a jury that lasts forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it doesn't matter what the evidence is, people want to go home. And apparently this evidence is, I don't know, it's out there in outer limits. I mean, we're way past the Twilight Zone.
Exactly.
In the limits.
Yes.
Colorized version. Okay. I don't know. This guy just doesn't know what we do. You know, we set up dictators and we take out the dictators. I think it's it's a pattern. This story is out by Al Jazeera. President Rodrigo Duterte has told the United States and the European Union to go ahead and withdraw financial aid to the Philippines if they're unhappy with his bloody anti-drug war. Go away. Bring your money to somewhere else. We will survive as a nation, Duterte said in a speech to police officers on Thursday in the southern city of Bhutan. How do you look at us, mendicants? We will survive, even if we'll go through hardships. We will survive, but we will never, never compromise our dignity. If you think it is high time for you guys to withdraw your assistance, go ahead. We will not beg for it, Duterte said, adding he doesn't expect the U.S., EU, and human rights groups to understand his policy. Well, yeah, I think you're right about that. On the other hand, I would argue, on an intellectual level, we understand it a little too well.
Yeah.
More than 3,680 people have been killed by police and unidentified attackers on the Philippines since June 30th, when Duterte took office. I guess some people would say, though, that's a good thing. I mean, what this devolves into, Wink, and we've seen this before, somebody wants a parking spot, their neighbor's being a dick about it. The dick neighbor suddenly is now a drug dealer and they're dead. And the parking spot opens up. Thank you very much. I mean, this is how petty it gets.
Right.
Last week, two U.S. senators raised alarms about the mounting death toll linked to the anti-drug war and called for a review of American foreign aid to the Philippines. Well, good. Senator Ben Cardin said that Duterte is advocating and endorsing amounts to mass murder. And Senator Patrick Leahy said no amount of killing will result in reforms that improve the judiciary, end corruption and impunity in law enforcement, or rehabilitate those caught in the vicious cycle of addiction. According to U.S. data, the Philippines is expected to receive a total of $188 million in 2017. In 2015, the Philippines received $236 million in U.S. aid. Meanwhile, the annual EU assistance to the Philippines is estimated at $65 million. Philem Kine of Human Rights Watch warned foreign aid to the Philippines would go into funding mass unlawful violence by authorities. But in defending his policies yesterday, Duterte said foreign governments will never understand the pain that we are suffering. We will take out the weak among us, those weak addicts.
Yeah.
Yes, and the people who feed that addiction, will take them out too. It'll be a 1-2 punch. And we'll be declared the winner by knockout. Duterte's statements follow a Facebook post by his foreign minister, Perfecto Yusei, who wrote that the president wants to liberate the Philippines from a shackling dependency on the U.S. In a post titled America Has Failed Us, Yusei said Duterte was compelled to realign Philippine foreign policy and not submit to U.S. demands and interests. See, this is populist stuff. In some ways, it has a resonance of something that should be happening. But this isn't because we're shackling the Philippines with the mass murder. Though I guess on their, Duterte's defense, well, these drug addicts are murdering people all the time, so we have to murder them back. I don't know. I think Trump might be able to take something like this and run with it. It's right up his alley, isn't it?
Yeah.
People don't want our money, we don't need to give it to them.
Right.
And what happens in the meantime? Well, then, people go hungry because of the mismanagement this guy will have. It'll turn into warlord BS. And then who comes in the same day? It won't be us, but it might be, a trading opponent like China.
Yeah.
Not to say that China is bad in all ways, but, if I was Disneyland and they were Knott's Berry Farm, I try to keep, Tomorrowland going.
Right.
That's just me. All right, let's go to our Gem Hightower break. I was going to try to give you a new one, but they're all classics, and I don't know. I like new.
Yeah.
So
I hear you.
We'll just play the one we got. It's good. All right. And then we'll come back and go through the Connect, Unite, Act Daily Coast community calendar and the stories for the last half. You are listening to the After Show on Networks Radio with Wink and Justice, and we will be right back.
The media establishment has labeled Donald Trump a populist, endorsing his absurd assertion that while he might be a billionaire, he'll be our billionaire, fighting for us commoners. I'm not telling anyone how to vote, and I certainly understand the inclination to grab the biggest stick you can find to whack the bejesus out of those political and corporate elites holding you and your family down. And Trump has sold himself as the biggest, baddest stick around. But I am here to say, don't be a sucker. There's not a single populist muscle in Donnie's whole plutocratic body. He'll sell out wage earners, small business people, and anyone else to serve his own needs or whims, as his lifelong record, as opposed to his recent rhetoric, reveals. Donnie learned to be self-serving from his father, Fred, who became a millionaire by getting federal housing subsidies to build apartment buildings in New York City. Then, as landlord, he flagrantly discriminated against black people trying to rent an apartment. One of Fred's tenants was none other than Woody Guthrie, who was so appalled by Daddy Trump's greed and racism that he wrote songs denouncing him. The Donald not only inherited Fred's fortune, but also his business ethics, including engaging in wage theft, outsourcing his expensive Trump-branded products to such low-wage countries as China and Vietnam, and illegally using and underpaying undocumented immigrants to build his luxury projects. Also, he's been sued hundreds of times for stiffing cabinet makers, plumbers, and other small business suppliers. This is Jim Hightower saying, Donald J. Trump is a swaggering son of privilege who has never been on the side of working people and most certainly would not be a populist president. To the contrary, in his heart, mind, and his whole being, he's nothing but a Trumpist of, by, and for himself.
Need an antidote to the progressive blues? Want some good news about how grassroots folks are rebelling against the corporate powers and winning? Well, here's an easy-to-swallow pill for you, the Hightower Lowdown. Hightower's monthly newsletter will give you the lowdown, even as it lifts you up. It's 4 pages a month, jam-packed with facts you can use, actions you can take, and Jim's own Texas humor, all for only $15 a year. To become a lowdowner, go to hightowerlowdown.org.
Powered by Unity Networks. You are listening to networksradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
Okay, we're back.
And indeed, we are back, and thank you for sticking with us. This is the After Show with Wink and Justice. Justice here along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the West Coast. Wink is in upstate New York, 21 on the East Coast. And our crew are the ethereal creatures who reside in the cloud. Yes, that ethereal cloud. And it's because of their intergalactic technical abilities that are so advanced that allows Networks Radio, and thus by extension the After Show, to span the globe, the universe, and beyond.
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, they found, they discovered a planet in August.
Yeah.
And they've been crunching the data, and it's in a star system that is it's the nearest to our sun.
Right.
And it has oceans.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, and if it has oceans, it's a good chance it has life.
Oh, it's a good chance.
Yeah.
So today's Connect, Unite, Act Daily Codes community calendar is facilitated as it is every Friday by Smiley Creek. And as the heavy equipment rolls in,
Yeah.
we only got like 43 minutes or so. So it's okay. Hopefully they won't. Yeah, they got the big scraper and stuff. So we might have some rumbling and stuff. Okay, so Smiley Creek's question today is, do you have trouble pronouncing names? Meaning like a state's names, like Nevada versus Nevada.
I guess. I mean, everybody has their own way of, every territory, whatever, has their way of saying what their name is, I guess. But
yeah, that's right. Everybody has a way of saying it, except the place that the people live there. That's the way it is.
That's the way it is. Yeah, exactly.
And everybody else doesn't. I guess I could go and say, something. I don't know. I can't even mispronounce New York.
Yeah.
How do you mispronounce New York?
It's pretty tough, but Oregon is
pretty tough.
One of those. That,
Oregon.
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
So there's places like that people.
Now there's nicknames like don't call it Frisco.
Right.
Just don't. Now there's some people there that are like trying to embrace it, like, oh well, we should just have written no.
Yeah. You want to fight that.
I'm serious. It attacks the very soul of what San Francisco is. Do not call it Frisco.
Yeah, there you go.
Give it an honorific, call it the city.
Yeah.
We were perfectly happy with that when I lived down there.
Heck yeah.
All right. So events currently scheduled October 24th is a Monday, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. The Daily Kos Asheville Cossacks will be meeting up at White Duck Taco, 12 Biltmore Avenue in Asheville. And go to the Connect Unite Act Daily Kos Community Diary for the appropriate links so that you can put your name on that list as they prepare for early voting with Reverend Barber.
Heck yeah. Yep. That's the way to do that.
Look, let's get out the vote. Okay. All right. That is your Connect Unite Act Daily Kos Community calendar for the 7th of October, Columbus Day weekend. Steal people's lands and make them feel like shit for doing it.
Yeah.
That day. I know the Italian part of me says, oh, he was a great hero. He expanded and propelled Italian culture. Yeah, I don't know. Genocidal mania is not an Italian trait. I kind of think this should be, spread.
Yeah.
We don't like that. All right. I don't know. It's Friday, Wink.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Friday.
Yep.
All I know is that...
So we get the 3-day weekend, I guess, with Columbus Day.
When I worked in private business, though,
yeah.
I mean, for other people, never took Monday. Never took Columbus Day.
No, we never did. No.
Never had.
No.
I remember at one point getting it off for school and then not.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
So there was that. Or did we? No, I think we had Columbus Day off too.
Yeah, we did it in schools here. We took
Yes.
it off here. Because it was a federal holiday, I guess. I think that's the reason why.
So I guess we're not getting mail on Monday.
I don't think so. No. I think federal services are shut down on Monday.
It's fine.
As they get the 3-day holiday.
I don't know.
The rest of us will be working stiff, so we'll be out there working.
Yes. Well, actually, Thanksgiving is considered Steel Indigenous Peoples Lands Day, and then it's Columbus Day. Thanksgiving Day is something else. I kind of like the mythical feel-good story of Thanksgiving in which you share the bounty. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That part, I really like that because that seems to like span all cultural boundaries and such. I mean, the sharing of food is one of the most ingratiating aspects of human behavior.
Heck yeah.
And I always have loved that part of it. Now, Columbus Day, I don't know. It's like set foot on this continent. Next thing you know, everything's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yep.
Pest, disease.
Yeah.
God. Brought a lot of nice stuff from Europe. Hey, here. We're going to make you advanced.
Yeah.
Speaking of advanced, we are now in the Friday News Dump and Recycling Center.
Yeah.
News that's been repurposed for a purpose. Now, this is by Brad Reed out of Raw Story. And his title is Oregon Church Pulls a Trump, says overweight people shouldn't be worship leaders. My title didn't say pull a Trump. Because my thing is like, worship leaders? What the hell is that? Lay brothers? I need a glossary. All right. And this is, Brad Reed from the Raw Story. If Donald Trump started up his own church, it might look like the New Creation Church in Hillsboro, Oregon. Yes, that's right. That's near Portland. So now we know. The Oregonian reports that the New Creation Church has come under fire after it posted guidelines for prospective worship leaders whose job is to help lead the congregation in songs, among other things. Okay. I get it now. There were a couple of eyebrow-raising requirements in the church's list, but the most controversial one has proven to be the rule against excessive weight. All right. Weight is something that many people have to deal with, the church said. Make sure that you're taking care of your temple, exercising and eating properly. Well, that's rather benign. The church also requires that worship leaders put on deodorant. And also states that a submissive attitude is very important among the worship team members, and that speaking against the leadership will not be tolerated. Wow. I think they have to take a blood oath. When contacted by the Oregonian, New Creation Church pastor Rebecca Sunholm defended the standards which she noted were not rigidly applied. What's funny is this has nothing to do with anybody else but our church, she told the paper. If anybody looked at our worship team, they would see that they aren't all skinny, and in fact, the worship leader has weight issues. Okay. Promoting health and, I get that. I suppose if you go to the gym, you don't want Joe Schlub as your workout leader. I guess.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Just saying that in this situation, there's this cultic thing like submissive attitude is required. And the terms worship team, what the hell is worship team? When I see things like that in my head, it's less about, religion and more about a corporate structure. So I guess in the prosperity gospel churches, you got to have a corporate structure in which to prosper. Yeah. It also seems like tent revival BS, where everything is choreographed and scripted. Worship team. I'm sorry. What is a worship team? Are they the choir directors? No, it's more than choir directing. We know what it is. They're like acolytes. That's what acolytes. Okay, I figured it out. I just needed to, find a hierarchy in which to be able to label these things. Worship team. When we would study the catechism, we didn't have business charts on tripods, they would bring those in, like big old flip charts.
Oh, yeah.
With graphs, Now, when you recite 6 Hail Marys and then 4 acts of contrition, you reach this level of penance. Never had that. Okay. Fortunately, I've never had this either. Incarcerated for what you wrote, and you never even published it. How the hell did they get it? Unfortunately, the International Business Times doesn't tell us, and this is written by Vishakaha Sonyawain. An Iranian woman has been sentenced to 6 years of jail for writing a fictional, unpublished story about stoning. Golrukh Ebrahimi Irai was convicted of, quote, insulting Islamic sanctities, end quote, and, quote, spreading propaganda against the system, end quote.
Yeah, that's it.
In her story, Ebrahimi Irai wrote about a young woman who watched the stoning of Soyra. And that was a 2008 movie based on a true story of a young Iranian woman stoned to death, and is so infuriated by the punishment. And this is the story of the young woman who had watched this, that she was so infuriated by that movie, which is a true story, that she burns a copy of her Quran. Oops. According to Amnesty International, Iranian authorities found her piece in September of 2014. Okay. Following this, Ibrahimi Arey and her husband, Arash Sadahi, were arrested in Tehran by men believed to be from the Revolutionary Guard. At the time, officials reportedly interrogated the writer while keeping her blindfolded and told her that she could face execution for insulting Islam. I think that the use of stoning is a barbaric action. You are insulting my religion. You can't do that, and therefore, death to you.
Yeah.
I'm only bringing this up because this is where we go. All right? When we have autocratic leaders feeding upon people's superstitions. What do you get? Mass hysteria that cops are like, shooting who they think are clowns. It's bad enough homeowners are doing, but we got cops all caught up in it now. Arresting kids. I mean, there's a group of kids here who are like online. And they put up an icon of a clown. And another kid got scared because of the icon of the clown. And the cops got involved and they arrested a bunch of 12-year-olds. I kid you not. It's hysteria. And then what happens when that hysteria turns into, well, in anthropological terms, a cultural determinant that is passed down over generations. So yeah, let's stone women. It's what we've always done. It's our tradition. Religious too. It's not like the Iranians made up stoning, okay? I think we even practiced it here. Well, this last Tuesday, Iranian officials ordered Ibrahimi Arey to hand herself over to Tehran's Evin prison and start serving her 6-year jail term. They, the Iranian authorities, haven't issued a written summons as required by law. Ibrahimi Arey told Voice of America's Persian arm, "They called me using the telephone of one of my friends, David Cameron. They had gone to a shop to arrest him, and they called me from there to summon me." What? Now, her husband is already serving 15 years on charges of spreading propaganda against the system. You write a letter, put it on your Facebook, suddenly it's propaganda, right? And gathering and collecting against national security and insulting the founder of the Islamic Republic. I don't think he was insulting the Shah. Okay.
Yeah.
Not Pavel Rezmi. Not that Shah. The original Shah. I'm not talking about that. I'm not the original Shah, but the one that, I think the one after that. Thinking the guy that was banished to Paris for a while. I guess that's Hillary Clinton and Obama's fault, too. Amnesty International called the charges against Ibrahimi Arey ludicrous and the trial farcical. She is facing years behind bars simply for writing a story, and one which was not even published. She is effectively being punished for using her imagination. Some people call that a thought crime. That was in this reporter's opinion, but the statement before that was by Philip Luther, Research and Advocacy Director for the Middle East and North Africa at Amnesty International. He continued, instead of imprisoning a young woman for peacefully exercising her human rights by expressing her opposition to stoning, the Iranian authorities should focus on abolishing this punishment, which amounts to torture. And the Iranian authorities go, well, yeah. It is appalling that Iran continues to allow the use of stoning and justifies it in the name of protecting morality. Now, Iran has been criticized for using stoning as a method of execution against women accused of committing adultery. In 2010, the case of Sakina Mohammed Ashtiani, initially handed out a death sentence by stoning, received global attention and triggered outrage. Following this, Iran and Ashtiani would not be stoned. Iran said Ashtiani would not be stoned, and she was pardoned and freed in March of 2014 after having been on death row for 9 years.
How about that? Yeah.
Okay. We could follow that road. So, I guess it's not odd, but we have devout Christianists who believe in that particular kind of punishment. Why? Because, I guess it's illegal in some states to teach that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam come from the same Abrahamic origins. Did you know that?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, parents are all upset. We don't have anything to do with the Jews, and we certainly don't got anything to do with the Muslims.
Yeah.
Our God is a just God. He's a loving God. That's why he's got that M16 strapped to his waist.
Exactly.
He's so big he can carry around an M16 with a fixed bayonet in a holster. That's our Jesus.
Heck yeah.
I don't know. David and Goliath. Right. So I'm just... When writers and artists are treated this way, it's more than a canary in a coal mine, obviously, in Iran, because this is, she's being punished as much for being a woman, or more for being a woman than a writer. Though her husband is serving, 15 years for essentially disseminating, a pamphlet like the White Rose Society did in Nazi Germany, who were shot, by the way, by a firing squad. If you want something a little bit more recognizable that, we can all get behind. Oh, well, the Nazis, if it wasn't just for the Jewish thing, they were getting rid of a lot of liberals. That helped.
Yeah.
And they did. It's also curious to know, just since we're on the parallels between Nazi Germany and what might be the burgeoning fascist movement here, or neo-fascist movement that's coming to prominence here in the United States, is that what was one of the first things Hitler did when he finally secured power as chancellor? Yes. Started killing his supporters. The ones who would get in the way, the ones who might, come off as a better leader than he. Now, we don't necessarily do it the brutal way that he did, because he actually had his henchmen go out there and shoot people in the head. Sometimes when they were sleeping, sometimes when they were awake going to the market.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we do it a little bit more subtly here. But it is still a very, it's a common tactic. And I got to tell you that the story came up too late, and the comprehensiveness of it was so profound that I just didn't think I could fit it all in. But Steve Bannon from Breitbart, who was part of Trump's group, his campaign,
Right.
has been called the Rennie Leifenstahl of today's U.S. right-wing movement. And, of course, we know Leni Riefenstahl as the great cinematographer of Germany who perfected modern propaganda. And Steve Bannon has been putting out ads, and I've seen them too. I go, wow, that's got a little Titanic bent there to it, and it's being analyzed and critiqued in a similar fashion. That some of this propaganda coming out is like not, right out of the Nazi era.
Right.
So we just need to be mindful of it. It's not, every election is the most important election ever in the history of the world. So when people go, they're just tricking us. No, because every election is the most important in the world. It's just the way it is. And this one's pretty damn important, Wink.
Yeah. No question.
Okay. Well, folks, we're going to bug out of here. Just as a reminder, I've been priming you about issues that have been occurring, and we've been preparing for software upgrades, repairs, and then there's also been those general internet issues out there in the world that are independent of us. Those are acts of God.
Yep.
The corporate world says do things, and the universe responds. That's out of our
exactly
out of our control. But if we do go offline, we will give you plenty of notice. But it's going to happen sometime this weekend, maybe tonight, maybe in the morning. But hopefully we won't be off for very long. Could be more than 10 minutes. Okay. Just saying. If that's the case, we'll have, actually, we won't be totally offline. We'll have our backup plan, probably run the PV channel, so you'll get lots of good programming on that. But we'll be back to regular programming ASAP, and otherwise we'll hopefully tune in for the Roundtable Roundhouse Power Hour with Rowing Girl and Wink tomorrow night, Saturday, 9 p.m. on the West Coast, midnight on the East Coast, and, of course, Jibber Your Jabber on Sunday, 9 p.m. West Coast, midnight East Coast. And with that, we'll just see you on Monday, and Week I will see you on the other side.
All right. Row.